we're set to go. So, Mr. Carson, the floor is yours.
Right. Good afternoon or good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you so much. Happy again to be with you today in this training. Okay, my name is Samuel Carson. I have a bachelor's degree in sociology from Kenyatta University. And then I have a certificate in research ethics from the University of Hong Kong in China. And then currently I'm a professional research member of the Corporate Institute of Strategic Research. And then I'm an affiliate member of Global Center for Advanced Strategic Research. So Tim, I'm grateful to be with you today in this third session of training and in this Sunday Insights. This being our third session. The first session we had on data collection, whereby you looked at qualitative and quantitative data. We looked at primary sources of data, secondary sources of data, and then we went ahead to look at the ethical considerations in data in research, whereby we looked at research ethics. Our second class, which was should be the last Sunday but one, we looked at electronic data collection devices, whereby we looked at COBO, Survey CTO, Open Data Kit, we looked at ComCare, we looked at JotForm, we looked at TeamScope, we looked at RedCap, and then we looked at the tools that can be used to collect data offline and those that can support both cross-sectional data collection and longitudinal, whereby we have case management. So Tim, today we want to look at data analysis, and we're here to learn, have contributions, have insights, because we are all learning. Are we together? So I would like us to go straight to our slides and just have a look at just a rough overview of data analysis, just the introduction part of data analysis. We may not look at everything, but we shall just look at a few aspects of data analysis. Yes, Dana, please help me project the slides on your end. And please also confirm that I'm clear on your side, because my network is not that strong where I am. So should there be some network?
Yes, you're clear.
Thank you. So we shall look at data analysis, overview of data analysis. We shall go steps in data analysis process. We shall look at different types of data analysis techniques, then data analysis tools, and then finally we shall look at impact of data analysis. Thank you so much. So ideally, team, this is a comprehensive method of inspecting, cleansing, transforming, and modeling data to discover useful information, to draw conclusions, and support decision making. This is a process that involves various techniques and methodologies to interpret data from various sources. It's also a tool that empowers organizations to make informed decisions, to predict trends, improve operational efficiency, and make actionable insights. And these insights can be used to improve product services, enhance experiences, streamline operations, and also improve the improve profitability. This is the backbone of strategic planning in business, governments, and other organizations. So ideally, we need to analyze data to make informed decisions. That's why data analysis is a very important aspect in any organization, or to any researcher, or to any professional, be it in businesses, in governments, or any other organization. Our next slide, please. So we have steps in data collection as a process. Remember the first step, we have defining objectives and questions. That's the first step. We have to define objectives and formulate clear and specific questions that your analysis aims to answer. This step is crucial because it sets a direction for the entire process of data analysis. It gives us a roadmap whereby it involves understanding the problem or situation at hand, identifying the gap, and then we look at which data is needed to address that particular gap. The second step, we have data collection. As we looked into that topic in our first lesson, once the objectives have been set and the questions are well defined, then the next step is to collect the relevant data. And we looked at this can be done in various methods. You can have surveys, interviews, observations. And this data can be either quantitative or qualitative based on the nature of the problem that is being answered in the question. Next step, we have data cleaning. Data cleaning, it's just looking at data and then getting rid of errors and inconsistencies. You are getting rid of duplicates. And this step ensures that we have quality data, we have reliable data, data that is credible, so that we obtain meaningful results from the analysis. Our next step, we have data analysis. In the analysis, there are various tools that are used to analyze data. After cleaning, now we analyze the data that has been collected. So we shall look at various tools that are used in data analysis. Then our next step, we have data interpretation and visualization. After data has been analyzed, team, the next step is to interpret the result and visualize them in a way that is easily understood. And when we are visualizing data, this could involve creating of charts, team, graphs, or other visual representations of the data. And maybe let me ask, what is the aim of visualizing data? What is the aim of data visualization, Tim? Yes? Any attempt as to why you have data visualization?
I can see there's a hand from Laban.
Yes, Laban?
Yes, yes. Data visualization idea is to
Actually,
help.
just a moment. I'd wish that you'd introduce yourself first, then so that we can know who you are. Then you can proceed with the answer.
eh, okay, well, my name is Laban Ampereza.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. So, so the question was, why do we visualize data? Am I right?
Yes.
Yes, we visualize data so that you can easily present it to different stakeholders. Because, for instance, you may find that you can easily present maybe in form of texts and graphs, among others, to the organization, but also to communities. You may find that they understand better pictures, among others. So ideally is to identify the stakeholders, their needs, so that you can easily present it.
Thank you so much. That's great. That's great. Thank you. Ideally, it helps to make complex data more understandable and provides clear pictures of the finding. We are breaking the complex data into understandable graphs, understandable pictures, understandable texts, as Labana said, just to provide to provide a clarity of the findings. And then lastly, we have data storytelling. Just like visualization, the process of storytelling here involves presenting the findings of the analysis in a narrative form that is engaging and easy to understand. As Laban has just said, it is crucial for communicating the results of the findings to non-technical audiences. Because when you're presenting to various stakeholders, there are those who will understand the technical part, and to those who will not understand, it's easier for them to understand through storytelling. And this also helps in making data-driven decisions. When you are storytelling, you are breaking it down into understandable terms. That person down there to understand what has been analyzed and what is being put forth. Team, are we together?
Maybe we can invite just a few members to comment on the last point on data storytelling. If you have, say, an example, what does it mean to storytell using data, and how do you go about it? If you have ever done that, or you have a clear understanding of how that happens, you can help us understand that. Anyone in the call? Any person who would wish to comment on the last point? Why do you think storytelling regarding data? They say donors are not so much interested with the numbers, but the story behind the numbers. So, any person who has an idea of why storytelling is so important? Yes, Laban.
Yes, storytelling is very much important because it backs up on what have been analyzed, and also you may find that different stakeholders need understand better different presentations of data. So storytelling sometimes can help you, especially for children, those who are working in organizations that involve children. When you tell a child story, it is easy to utilize that information as compared to a graph or pictures or something else. Thank you.
Yeah, you've mentioned something very important. You've said children. So does it mean it only applies to children? Does it mean that when you're storytelling and you're trying to catch the emotional appeal of your audience, does it mean that it's only for the children, or does it mean further there's more to it why storytelling would work?
It depends also on the type of data you are presenting. For instance, if it is about maybe human trafficking or what, storytelling, you may find that it's better. That's why they normally prefer qualitative information for that type of studies.
Okay, okay, that is interesting. Any other person with a comment on the last before we proceed? Okay, I will invite the trainer to proceed, or if you have a or if you wish for me to go to the next slide, you can just let me know.
All right, thank you so much. Just to comment on that, storytelling is important, as Laban has said, that it's easier to tell and to narrate the story behind the analysis so that it helps people understand and stakeholders understand what has been analyzed. It also helps the people maybe at the grassroots level, because some of them may not understand what the graphs are all about, what the pie charts are all about. But when now you break it down into storytelling, they may easily understand what has been analyzed through the stories, right? Thank you. Our next slide, please. Our next slide. Right. Team, we have different types of data analysis. And I just picked on a few. There are more than 4. I know most of you or many of you might have interacted with this. So first you have descriptive analysis. Descriptive analysis asks what happened. It describes or summarizes raw data to make it interpretable. This involves analyzing historical data to understand what happened in the past. This type of analysis mostly is used to identify patterns and trends over the past. And an example of this, maybe a business, a company, or an organization might use descriptive analysis to understand the average monthly sales for the past year. So look at what happened in descriptive analysis. Second, we have diagnostic analysis. Here the question that is asked is, why did it happen? Diagnostic analysis asks, why did it happen? So it goes a step further than descriptive analysis by determining the reason why something happened. It involves more detailed data exploring and comparing different sets of data to understand the cause of a particular outcome. That is diagnostic analysis. For instance, a company's sales dropped in a particular month, for instance. So diagnostic analysis could be used to find out the reasons as to why the company sales dropped. Next, we have predictive analysis. It asks the question, why? What will happen? What will happen? That's predictive analysis. Here we are forecasting. It's a forecasting technique that's used to understand the future. It involves using data from the past to predict what could happen in the future. And mostly, team, predictive analysis is often used in risk assessment and also in sales forecasting. A company might use it to predict the next quarter sales based on the historical data. Lastly, team, we have prescriptive analysis. How can we make it happen? Team, what do you think this type of analysis seeks to find out? The prescriptive analysis. What do you think it seeks to find out? Any attempt?
Anyone who wish to attempt that, remember you don't have to, you can just give according to how you understand the data collection concept. Because I bet most of us have interacted with all these stages, only that maybe the way the differences in how you call them would be the thing, but I bet we've all interacted with them. So anyone who wish to give a try?
Can the trainer repeat the question?
Okay.
Right, thank you. So we are looking at prescriptive analysis, which seeks to ask how can we make it happen? What do you think it seeks to find out in terms of data analysis? The prescriptive analysis.
Yes, Laban?
Yes, ideally, prescriptive analysis is like you are like in some research studies. For instance, you are doing a research study to find out to analyze and see if the information that was collected actually is giving a solution to the study.
Right, thank you.
Maybe Nyongesa, do you have anything to add on that? Geoffrey?
Of course, from the word prescriptive, it is understand it as like a plan of action to of arriving at a desired outcome. Like the way it says, how can we make it happen? So we are prescribing either a solution or a plan of how to be able to and uh, make the desired outcome happen. However, now that I'm talking, I will also wish to get clarity, because the way the trainer has taken us through very well, descriptive, narrating what has taken place, diagnostic, going deeper to find out what happened. Now between diagnostic and predictive analysis, because on the predictive analysis here we are asking ourselves what will happen. So in case you diagnose and you find that the trend is not leading you to the desired outcome, now do you change fast before you predict? Because you can easily predict by looking at the trend. If there's a negative trend, you can of course predict and find out, say that with this trend we are most likely to go this route. So does it mean that after diagnostic we predict, or do we change before we can now predict well? Maybe you can say something there.
Right. Thank you so much. Wonderful. Wonderful. You used the word plan of action and solution when you are giving your contribution on prescriptive analysis. Very right. Here, as you've just said, that in prescriptive, we are not only predicting the future outcomes, but we are also suggesting actions, as you've said, plan of actions that now will benefit from these predictions. So here, as we've just said, we are now looking at solutions. We are suggesting in prescriptive, suggestions are given. Plans of actions are given that will benefit, that will bring forth solutions. Now to your question, you said that in diagnostic, you may predict something. And remember, what I've just given here, this is not, they're not all the data analysis types that you have. I just gave an example. So it will depend with what are we looking at based on your answer. So if you predict that maybe there's a negative trend that may affect our end result, then now we need to consider that. Have I answered your question?
Okay, yes.
Thank you. So in prescriptive, as we've just said, we're not only predicting the future outcomes, but also suggesting actions to benefit from these predictions. We are suggesting solutions that will benefit from these actions. Thank you so much. We may go to our next slide.
Any comments before we proceed to the next slide? Any comments from members? Remember, this is a more interactive than it is a one-sided session. So if you have any comments, if you have any addition to what is being presented, you're free to raise your hand and just air your input. So we'll proceed to the next slide.
Just to add on something that under the descriptive, the prescriptive analysis here, we might give suggestions or suggest the best marketing strategies that will increase the future sales in a company. So what you are suggesting will lead to profitability of the future. Thank you. Our next. So team, here we look at data analysis techniques. I know there are various data analysis techniques, but I just chosen a few that you may look at today. One, we have exploration analysis, regression analysis, factor analysis, cluster analysis, or then you have cohort analysis, time series analysis, you have segment analysis. Anyone amongst us who has come across any of this? Anyone? Yes? Yes, Laban?
Yes, I have come across actually most of them. I think
Yes.
because of my profession being a statistician.
Yes.
But yeah.
Thank you. Most of them. Wonderful. So we have exploration analysis. Here, we used to understand we understand the main characteristics of a data set. Then it's often used at the beginning of the data analysis process to summarize the main aspect of data, check for missing data, and test assumptions. Team, this technique involves visual methods such as scatter plots, histograms, and box plots. We have regression. Laban, maybe help us understand what regression analysis from your end, if you have come across it, or any suggestion about it.
Yes, regression analysis, it's a predictive analysis. Like ideally you are testing different variables, the effect on the dependent variables. Ideally, to make it clear, you have a dependent and an independent variables. So you are testing the effect of the independent variables on the dependent variables, and also to be able to predict ideally what will happen if nothing has not been done.
Wow, thank you so much. Ideally, he just said that we understand the relationship between the dependent variables and one or more independent variables. Thank you. Then you have factor analysis. Under factor analysis team, this technique is used to reduce large number of variables into fewer factors. The factors are constructed in such a way that they capture the maximum possible information from the original variable. This technique is mostly used in market research and also in customer segmentation. We have cluster analysis and cohort analysis. Under cluster, we are just clustering. What is to when we talk of cluster? What do you understand by the word cluster, team? Cluster. The term cluster, what do you understand by it? Right. Here, team, this is a technique that is used to group
There's,
a set of objects. Yes?
there's,
There's somebody?
there's a hand. Maybe let's allow Evelyn and then Laban. Uh,
Thank you.
and also, I'd also request that, yes, so I've seen there's so much contribution from the question you've asked. So I'll allow Evelyn, and also I'd request that you may give us examples for each, so that we can also, for us, some of us who are getting this for the first time, I'd wish that you would give us examples of each analysis, so that it can make a bit of sense to, as Laban is a
I was just
Laban is a statistician and we do not understand his language.
Thank you.
Yes, Evelyn?
And I think maybe Laban will help us more on this because he has interacted with this. Thank you, Evelyn. Please go ahead.
hey, you didn't hear me. Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, I was just saying that clustering is basically grouping. You can do your analysis using the different groups of the target population probably to find out the outcome. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. Grouping, that you can do your analysis by grouping different groups of target population. That's great.
Laban had something to add on that as well. Then there's one in the chat. So Laban, you can proceed.
Yes, when they say cluster analysis, I think I can explain both cluster analysis and cohort analysis. There is
Kindly
some
go
relation,
ahead.
but they don't actually mean the same. For instance, cluster analysis, you have, for instance, for project A and project B, you are implementing almost the same things. For instance, if it is an HIV project, you are implementing it, for instance, in Kampala and Mbarara, same thing. But because the population has different characteristics and so on, you have to group. For instance, Kampala, you may find that Kampala people are always indoor and so on, when you find that in Mbarara there is a lot of socialization and so on. So that's why you have to cluster them into different groups, because when you combine the analysis, it means that you are going to not to achieve the objective or the goal. Most of the time your analysis may be doubted because of different demographics and also the style of people and so on, or else you may not achieve actually the required goal. That's why they have to group or to cluster. Then the cohort analysis now, for instance, in Kampala, you have enrolled people in the study. For instance, 50 people in the study. So you keep following up. After 1 year, you may find that some have dropped out, maybe some didn't receive, maybe we are not the beneficiary of the project and so on. So you keep following up. After 1 year, maybe some have died. For instance, I have an experience in the health sector, and you follow up people who have enrolled in with the same characteristics. For instance, January, March, then you follow up after 6 months. Are they still active in care? Are they still adhering very well, taking their drugs very well, and so on? After 1 year, do we have some who have lost? Do we have some who so it's used most of the time to keep following up, to understand, and also you have to draw the root cause. If some have dropped out, then why, and so on. That's why you have to do even further analysis to understand better. Yeah, thank you.
And one last one before I send it back to the trainer. We have Concelia Awar on the chat section. She said cluster could be a group. So as has been said by the speakers who have come before me, I think that is just to emphasize on what has been said. Okay, so you can also give us examples on the previous three, the way you have elaborated the cluster and cohort. It has been well noted, if it's not too much to ask.
Hey, should I be the one to answer or the trainer?
It's fine, Laban. If you have something to answer to add on, we appreciate
And
whatsoever
okay,
you have.
pardon.
Whatsoever you have, you can bring it forth.
Okay, okay, thank you so much. Maybe like you were explained about exploration analysis. ideally you are testing the model, like using box plot and so on. Is it normally distributed? An example is you have collected the data, but you want to know, like, ideally to know the analysis that is going to go ahead. Over, I'm using a lot of technical words,
It's
but
okay.
ideally
It's
to
okay.
but ideally to know the analysis you are going to use. For instance, there is parametric tests and non-parametric tests. So, and each have assumptions. So for you to know that I'm going to use a parametric test, it has its assumption. For instance, data has to be normally distributed. So now I have to do exploration analysis. How? By testing its normality, by testing a lot of things, so that I'm able to identify the right analysis. Have I given the right?
All right. So you are testing like what is going to be used at the end.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Now for regression analysis, you are looking at, first of all, an example is you are looking at a quantitative, which is a dependent, but also a qualitative for logistic regression models, among others. So ideally, you have a dependent variable versus independent variables. They can be even more. You are testing the effect or the relationship on a dependent variable. For instance, if I am doing a study about uh, about maybe education levels, like maybe people are taking maybe higher education levels, then I have independent variables like their income, their skills, the schools they have gone through, maybe the language they have been, the mode of running, among others. So ideally, I'm testing to identify, are they significant? If the mode of running, maybe if you may find that the mode of running is significant on the what, on people attending maybe higher education. So you are testing, that becomes a regression analysis.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you. Dan, I'm satisfied.
The last one is factor analysis.
Factor analysis, I would request the trainer to.
Expound. The way
Okay.
you
Thank
asked
you.
me, I'd wish to you to implement the storytelling approach. The way, because that comes out very clearly.
Pardon?
I'm saying, you see, when you the way you had explained cluster and cohort using like a typical life example, it brings the concept home very quickly, and someone can easily identify from what they practice or what they do.
Okay. So for fact analysis, I have not used it most common, but the way I understand it is that you are looking at, there are research studies that mainly you are looking at their effect on the variable, on the dependent variables. So because when you are doing, I think it's mostly used in this situation. Have you heard of something like situation analysis, what and so on, stakeholder analysis, among others? You are looking at the contributing, what is contributing to. So they keep on emerging. For instance, in education sector, if you are doing a study on education, there are different factors that may affect a child to reach to maybe higher education. A lot of factors, maybe their parents' levels of education, among others. So there is some sort of relationship to the past analysis, like regression and exploration.
Right. Thank you so much for that elaborate explanation. We are grateful to have you on board and thank you. So can we move forward? Thank you. We have time series analysis. Under time series analysis, this technique deals with the time series data and trends analysis. It's used to analyze the sequence of data points and extract meaningful statistics and other characteristics. In time series analysis, it's used in sales forecasting and also in weather forecasting. Like what will happen at this time, what will happen tomorrow. Because when you're forecasting, you're looking forward to what will happen some time to come. So when we hear that it's going to rain in Nairobi, it will be cloudy in Kampala, it's going to be sunny in Uganda. So that's what we use time series analysis. Any contribution to that?
You can just proceed because I see we are almost running out of time.
Thank you. And then lastly, we have sentiment. I think it is sentiment analysis. Sorry for that typology. It is sentiment analysis, not segment analysis. Sentiment analysis. Here we look at the opinion. We use the language. We use text analysis, linguistic, just to identify and extract subjective information from sources. It's often used in social media monitoring, brand monitoring, and understanding customer feedbacks. So this sometimes we use it's used just to identify and understand the temperature, the social temperature of a particular region. Maybe in politics, you'll hear some people. There are some places that are always volatile. Volatile, I mean, there are places that are always peaceful. So sentiment analysis is used to get such kind of information. Are we clear on that? So in sentiment analysis, is used to mine opinion. Getting opinion, getting the natural language that is used in that particular area, just to understand the temperatures and how the area is. I think we can move to the next slide. Please help me move the next slide. Right. Data analysis tools. Tim, just to ask a question, how many of us have used Excel, have used Tableau, Power BI, SQL, Python, R, SPSS, and any other tool that has not been mentioned here? I know most of us might have interacted with Excel because this is a tool that is mostly used in various organizations and in various platforms. And it's a basic requirement for any person who like to engage in data analysis. It acts like a foundation tool, because for you before you go into other tools like Tableau, Power BI, SQL, Python, SPSS, it's advisable to have the knowledge of Excel. Then we move to Tableau, and Excel is used to analyze data, and it's also used to visualize data. I've used R and Excel. Thank you so much. Somebody says he has used R and Excel. Is there any difference between R and Excel in terms of data analysis and data visualization as far as data analysis is concerned? Yes? I'm seeing a hand up.
Yes, Laban, your hand is raised.
Yes, there is a difference between R and Excel. Ideally, in terms of the, can I say, amount of data. For instance, Excel may tend to freeze and it reaches a staging it cannot handle large sums of data as
Yes.
compared to R. That is the main difference. That's why when you have like population census among others, you go for R, Stata, among others, only because Excel cannot handle at that point.
So ideally, it's true that there is some data that cannot be handled by Excel because of its large volume. Is it?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. So that's why we opt for other tools like R, like Python, that can handle large volumes of data as compared to Excel.
There are also comments in the chat section. Maybe you can let me see. Comments on the same. We have there's Cosma Opera who's requesting that you shed more light on R, and then yeah, I think that's just one of it. It's either you're muted or we just can't hear you.
Sorry. Ideally, R is a programming language and it's also a data analysis software that it's used for statistical computing and graphics. And in most cases, it's used amongst the statisticians and data miners to develop statistical softwares and data analysis. And you'll also realize that R as a data analysis tool, as a data analytical tool, it provides wide variety of statistical and graphical techniques, also includes linear and nonlinear modeling. So it's just like a higher, an advanced tool that we can use to analyze data, but now here it accommodates large volumes of data as compared to Excel. Together on that? Thank you. And then we have Tabview and Power BI. Ideally, Tab and Power BI, they're more or less the same. They do the same task, whereby they also do data visualization. You can also import your data from SQL or any other database to create your own visualization. And they make visualization easy, whereby you can also do it through these tools. So they do more or less the same task, I mean, both Tabview and Power BI. Then SQL, that's a language that allows us to understand and interact with the database. Yeah, the database is a collection of stored data that is stored in a computer system. And we use SQL when we are dealing with large volumes of data, and that data that require some structural coding, that now we now employ SQL. But it does more or less the same work like Excel, like Tabview, like Power BI. And then I have Python. I know most of the data analysts have always spoken of Python as a tool. Has anyone amongst us worked with Python or used Python as a data analysis tool? Or has anyone amongst us analyzed data using Python? Right. Team Python is a data analysis tool. It's advanced as compared to Excel. It accommodates large volumes of data. And it's used to analyze both statistical and non-statistical data. Also helps us to do data visualization apart from data analysis. So ideally, team, Python as a tool, it's an advanced tool as compared to Excel. It accommodates large volumes of data, and it helps us to do visualization of data and also present data in a way that can easily be understood. Then you have SPSS. Anyone who has used SPSS? As a data collection, as a data analysis tool? Ideally, SPSS is a data analytical tool that applies the same concept and more or less the same idea as Python. It can be used to analyze data, to visualize data, and you can also import data from various databases and then use SPSS. Lastly, team, let us look at what is the importance or the impact of data analysis. What do you think we analyze data? Lastly, I know we've discussed that before. Let's just have a review of it as we sum up our today's class. Reasons as to why we analyze data. An attempt as we sum up. Ideally, data is analyzed to help us make informed decisions. It allows businesses to make informed decisions based on facts. It helps researchers make informed decisions based on facts, figures, and trends, and not just relying on guesswork and intuition. It provides a solution for strategic planning and policy making. And by doing this, it ensures that resources are allocated effectively and that efforts are directed towards the areas that will yield the most benefits. Thank you so much, team, for your time. Any question, contribution, any complaint,
So there,
any correction?
maybe just to take a few questions from the chat section. There's one who's asking, let me get the name. Lydia Mutinda is asking, what are predictive analytics approaches? Okay, what are predictive analytic approaches? And then the second question is from Cosma Opira, who's asking which of these softwares are open source or don't need licenses. So like the way you talked of SPSS, I'm made to believe it's part of IBM or something. So tell us which ones are open source or don't need license. So those are the two questions from the chat section. So if you are able to unmute also, you can unmute and expound on or elaborate on your question. But I bet the trainer can try to answer them.
I heard of predictive analysis. Is it?
Predictive analytics approaches.
I think it should be a predictive analytic approach. I think this is the same as predictive analysis because it's a it's a type of analysis. It's an analytic approach.
Mm.
So when one employs a predictive analytic approach, this is an approach that's used to forecast and understanding the future. When we are predicting, we are looking at what will. And remember, our question is, let's just look at the types of analysis done at that slide. The question that we are asking there in predictive. Predictive, we are saying what will happen. What will happen? So we are predicting, and this involves using data from the past to predict what could happen in the future. And we said that in this analysis, it's often used in a risk assessment, in marketing, and also in sales forecasting. For example, a company like Safaricom may employ a predictive analytic as an approach to predict its next quarter sale based on the historical data. So, like what will happen in the future. Hope that question I've tried to answer, unless there's there's some contribution on that.
Then there is the second one, which is asking about, let me now go to that slide, asking about the open source, the softwares that are open source and do not require license or subscription. I think that's what he means. So from the list that has been highlighted.
Right. I think he was. Please let me know if he's a sure or he, so that I use the right.
It's a he.
Thank you.
Cosmo Opie.
I think he wanted to ask that which tools kind of are open source. Could he be looking at the free tools to be used?
I guess he's just, because sometimes you might want to use, say, SPSS.
Yes.
Maybe you just given 30 days to try it out, and then after that you are supposed to pay. So I think that's what he's trying to ask.
Okay, thank you so much for that question. And maybe if I may answer his question, a tool like Excel, it's free, and you may find that there are some tools that they'll give you a time to try, and then now when you want to start using it, there is some amount that you need to either pay and be given the authority now to use it. But ideally, for a start, most of these tools you are always given some time of trial. Is it? So now you want to use it as at a higher notch now, you may be you may be now be required now to pay an amount. But most of them, for a start, it's always free.
Okay, so
Just a trial. Yes.
I guess Excel is free.
Excel is free.
What about R? Now that it's almost related with Excel.
Laban, you said you've used R. Is it paid for a start? For the beginners?
So while we wait for Laban to respond to that, there's Daniel who's asking, is it possible that we can get an in-depth training on each of these tools, especially for us who have never had the opportunity to interact with these tools? And then, okay, then there's also, yeah, Cosmo was elaborating on his question. He was saying he's looking for the free tools. So most of these tools just depend on how much data you have, I presume, and maybe even your resources. If you're able to go beyond the free trials, and even the capacity, as Swan has mentioned, that he needs to be trained on each, the capacity to train to know how to use them. Then there's Prac. I don't know Prac if you're female or male. You're asking, regression model is also one of the predictive analytics approach. So I don't know if that's a comment. Are you able to unmute and maybe expound on what you have commented on? He or she says regression model is also one of the predictive analytics approach. Okay, is Laban in the call? Okay, so because we have gone past the time we had allocated for the Sunday insights, I think the concern raised about learning each and every one of them, um, it would take an eternity if we were to decide to go through all of them. And the essence of having these sessions was just so we can have an opportunity to know of what exists out there. So if you are maybe using Excel, you now know that these other ones, and it just opens up your eyes to know and to go now online and get, say, their manual, or there's also a lot of content on YouTube on how to use different tools depending on if they're open source or you require a license. So this is just a session to open you up to what is there and the possibilities that are there out there. Because Excel is a whole class, a whole 3 months class.
Right, and maybe let me just add something on that. As we've just said, we may not be able to train everything that we've been going through in depth, but for those who like to maybe further their skills and further their knowledge on these data analysis tools, we have a website called edx.com, edx.com. This is a website that has very informative information, very informative training on data analysis and visualization tools. So, team, we may make use and make advantage of this site. There are some there are some topics that are for, there are courses that are for one month, some are 3 weeks, 2 weeks, very informative, very valuable. We can use them to improve on our skills on this data analysis tools team. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank
So,
you.
yes, Geoffrey?
Yeah, thank you so much for. Now, this idx.com, is it a free access website, or there's some payment to be made before you learn?
Thank you so much. Their courses, the basic courses are free. Most of the basic courses, they are always free unless you have now to advance. But a number of the courses that are trained on that particular sites are free of charge for beginners.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's take this opportunity to appreciate the presenter for today for taking his time to take us through the different, at least now we understand analytics. We have gotten the main idea of what's going on. Yes, I can see Prak. Prak, are you able to unmute and speak? You had put something in the chat. You had your hand raised. Yeah, so thank you so much, Mr. Kaswan, for that elaborative session. I appreciate so much for always creating time to enable learners to at least get a hold of things that are out there that we may not know. So, and also thank you so much for creating time to join today's session. I'd like for just a parting shot, I'd wish to hear from Ms. Namehe if this training has been worth it, or Mr. Mehe, I'm giving you an opportunity to give us a vote of thanks.
Diana, I thought today I'm not talking. Oh, nevertheless, thanks so much for the opportunity, really.
Mm.
Yeah, I think it has been an opportunity for us to learn, relearn, remember what we had forgotten maybe, and learn new. So, special appreciation to Carson for reminding us of some of these things, Some of them we interact with them on a daily. Some we had not yet maybe interacted with them, but we hear of them. So it's an opportunity to go and actually explore more based on what we've learned today. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming, and keep coming and learning more. Thank you. Thank you, Basket One. Thank you, CBSM and partners. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's just good to know if if the only one who's gaining a lot from this, or you're also getting a lot. So there being no other business, unless I'm leaving someone out, you are free to leave until next. Maybe Samuel, do you have something to add?
Okay, thank you so
Then I
much.
hope people have registered.
Yeah, that is a necessity. Unlike
Thank you
unlike
so much.
unlike EDX or any other platform, here you know very well once you've attended, you are sure you're going to get your certificate after. So make sure you sign the attendance.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Diana. Thank you so much for organizing this. And just maybe you'll allow me to maybe share a few sites that we can utilize them just to understand a few the basic concepts that we've been going through, so that when somebody has his own free time, he may be able to go to the site and maybe learn deeply in matters relation to data collection and data analysis, and also tools of data analysis. If you allow me, please.
All right, maybe what we can do is is it something you can share in the chat section, or you can just create a link, create a list of them and then share in the networking platform.
All right, I'll do that. Thank you.
That one will be more, it will stay there for forever, so people can always access it.
Thank you.
Any other question? Remember to sign the attendance, and we'll see you in the next, the last one. I think we'll have our last session on data collection next next Sunday. If you have questions about this and you have concerns about any of these tools, I'd really request that you reach out to Samuel or Carson, because I'm sure he does this at a personal level. So you can just reach out to him, ask him about one or two. If you want him to take you through Excel or either of them, he's at a better position to give you the answers, personally or privately, to the specific questions you have. So yeah, so I'll just share Carson's contacts also in the group so that you can also network with him. Yes, so once you've sent the attendance, you're free to exit. We have officially closed today's session. Until next Friday, we'll have a class on M&D, and then Sunday we have the last one on data collection.
Okay, thank you, Dana. Let me also clap for you for organizing these trainings for us and, reminding us on time. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you. Let me clap for myself. Also, we were clapping for ourselves. I didn't get the opportunity to do that. Thank you, members. Have a great evening.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.